Today we're installing a leveling kit on our 2011 Chevrolet 2500 HD. This is the LML Duramax truck. What we're going to try to do today is we've got a set of 295 tires that we're going to put underneath of this thing. The Suspension Maxx leveling kit calls for that it will be able to clear 33-inch tires, up to a 33-inch tire. So the part number for the new body style Chevrolets is going to be an SMX-MC3, and this is the kit. With these new Chevrolets now, if you've installed these before, the frame on the new Chevrolets is a different setup. So you're going to have to purchase a new tool to do this, a new unloader tool. The part number for the unloader tool, which you definitely have to do this install, is an SMX-2011-MT, or MT, I'm sorry, 2011-MT. That is your unloading tool. Again, the unloading tool from the previous year Chevrolets, the 01 to 010s, will not work with this body style truck. So let's go over a few things that comes in the kit here. Again, this is the unloader tool that we had to purchase, and we've got these on the website. This is for the 2011 and up truck. You actually have your torsion bar keys. These torsion bar keys are two pieces, and this has actually got an adjustment on here. For this truck, we can actually do 0.75, inch and a half, and 2.5 inches. We're going to go right for 2.5 because we're going with a 295 tire. So the torsion bar keys, these are shock extenders to compress your shock, so you retain your shock travel with this leveling kit. A little bit different on these kits compared to what we're used to doing on the 01 to 010 Duramaxes. On these trucks, we're actually going to have to lower the differential. So these are the differential spacers. We have new nuts that are going to go on our shock towers, and new bolts that are going to go in our differential mounting hardware. So that's basically everything inside the kit. Pretty basic kit. I mean, it's just like what you've done before on the earlier model Chevrolets, just a little bit more advanced because we're going to have to actually drop the differential. So those of you doing this at home, this job's going to take jack stands and a floor jack. If you're going to try to do it in a shop, if you've got a lift, 2-post lift would be best to do this on. Don't try to do it on 4-post, even though 4-post is easier to work on. You're actually going to have to support a couple of things through that, and we'll show you as we go. Tools required for this install: you're going to be using 18 metric, 19 metric, 21 and 22 metric. You'll need wrenches and sockets in all 4 of those. 1 inch 6-point socket, that's going to be for the unloader tool. Some anti-seize grease, we suggest. Paint pen to mark your torsion bars when you're taking those out, and just a tape measure. Now, before we get started with this, what we're going to do is we're going to walk around the truck and we're going to measure our clearances, and we're going to write these down so we've got reference to go back to. Before we start our installation here, before we put this on the lift and get started here, what we're going to do is we're going to record our stock height, both right and left side, before we start our installation, so we've got a point of reference to go back to and to see what kind of an increase that we've actually done here. So stock wheels, and this is stock ride height on this truck. We've never adjusted anything. To the top of the fender well, you're looking at about 39.5 inches. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side, so we've got a point of reference. Okay. Your torsion key bar is right directly behind your transfer case. Now you got 2 cross members here, but your torsion key bar is right directly behind your transfer case. Before starting this process, what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to mark our keys, our stock keys in relation with our bar, just so we know how everything goes back. And we're going to go to the front and mark the bar in relation to the lower control arm. Okay. All right, now we've got everything marked and we know what our orientation is. We're going to get our unloading tool and we're going to put pressure on our unloader, and this pillow block here, this is what raises and lowers our torsion keys. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be putting pressure on our torsion key, getting the pressure off of this block, and then we're going to loosen it and remove the block. All right, we're ready now to take the stock tension, the tension off of our stock torsion bars. What you do first before you put your unload tool on this is you're going to go ahead and remove the 21 metric bolt, and this will let the torsion key, the stock torsion key, come down, and it will actually rest on this block. So we're going to take it all the way down, and I just kind of note where I'm at coming out of stock position. This is going to be just about, the bottom of the bolt is going to be just about even with the cross member, just eyeballing it. Release that tension slowly. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is getting our block out. So we're going to need our unloader tool, and our unloader tool is made with a dimple here on the top of it. This goes to the top side of the cross member. There's a hole here. This is how the tool locks in. Now I face the tool back towards the transfer case. All right, then we run our tool up. This is a 1-inch standard. Now we're going to go slow with this just to save us some time. And we're just going to put a little bit of tension on this bar so we can get our block out. Be very careful doing this. This is the most dangerous part of the job. Alright, check everything, make sure it's good and sturdy, because what we're going to do is we're just going to lift this block out. Alright, don't try not to get your fingers around this, because if it slips off, it'll cut your fingers smooth off. We're just bringing our block out. That's all we've done. Okay, now we're going to release the tension all the way. Do this very slowly and watch what you're doing. Now, where this is a new truck, you know, this is a 2011 truck. This is, you know, everything on this is pretty, you know, pretty new and pretty loose. Your older trucks, you know, you're gonna have a little bit tougher time with this. So, okay, it's got our torsion. That's got our tension off of our torsion keys. We're gonna roll over and do the other side, mark everything in orientation, and then we're gonna go over and get our other side. Okay, now that we've got our height adjustment blocks out of both sides, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the torsion bar, and we're just going to be pushing it out the front. Excuse me, out the front, and that gets us to where we can remove the stock key. Now remember, when you're doing this, when you're driving your torsion bar out, remember to watch this key, because the key's heavy, and when it comes out of here it can fall. Our Suspension Maxx torsion keys have got indexing rings in them. Now the face of the torsion key itself has got numbers. The indexing ring, I guess we'll call it cog, however you want to do it. It's got two sides. It's got an A side and it's got a B side. Now depending on how far up you want to take your truck, that's what you use, whatever the manual calls for. Now we said we were going to go with the full 2.5 inches. For us, for this 2011, it's going to be the B1 position. So I've got the B, the indexing ring, and the 1 on the torsion key. And we put that together. Okay. Now, the steps to the kit is going to tell us to go on to the our shocks and do our shock extensions. But what we're going to do is we're going to put these indexing rings in. We're going to put these back on the torsion bars and not put any tension against them. We're just going to slide everything back together real quick. we're gonna go back with our Suspension Maxx keys in close to the same position where our stock torsion key came out of. All right, so you want to remember that. Don't put it in here like this and then try to put a bunch of tension against it. You can overdo this. You can overdo this. This is set up to a very specific tension or a very specific size for this indexing ring and for this torsion key. So like I said, you can overdo it. So you want it to go your new torsion key. You want it to go back in just about the same position that it came out of as far as angle goes. Okay. Now your torsion bar is going to have a little bit of play to it. A little bit of slack to it, I'm sorry. So you can just kind of nestle it in there, okay? And that just keeps everything together. Now we're going to do our other side. Okay, again, I don't have any tension on this. I didn't fully engage the torsion bar back to the key or anything like that. I'm going to go work on my shock extensions now. While I've got tension off everything, I just want to do this so I've got everything together and nobody's running around and kicking my indexing rings out of my torsion keys. Okay, now we're going to put our shock extensions on. The front shocks on this 2011 Chevrolet, you have two nuts that on top of the shock tower here. They are both 21 metrics. I know that's not a good shot. They're both 21 metrics. Socket and a long extension, and we're going to get them from top side, loosen both of those, and what we're going to do is loosen those, and then we're going to compress the shock and bring it out. All right, we've got both of our nuts, 21 metric nuts off the top of our shocks. All we're going to do is we're just going to pull straight down on this and relieve it from the shock tower. Okay, we've got our shock tower out. We're going to put both of our extensions on here, on our stock bolts, on our shock. Now you'll want to use the hardware, the two new nuts supplied with this back. Okay, so now we've got our spacers on. We just recompress our shock. There we go. All right. Place our new nuts on the top and tighten them back down. When we were doing our shock installation or our shock spacer installation, we noticed we had a serious shock problem. This is the stock shocks off of our 2011 2500 HD, and you can see that these will compress, but they don't recover. So we knew that was going to be a problem, a serious problem. So what we did was we ordered in some Bilstein shocks for this truck. We carry Bilstein. I'm going to have this part number specifically up on the website for sure. This is a 5100 series Bilstein shock. This is a 24-19-6451. So that's 24-19-6451. This is the front shocks for a 2011 and up 2500 HD. This shock is actually designed for 0 to 1.5 inch lift on the vehicles. So if you were just going to do 1.5 inches, this one would work perfectly without having to use your shock spacers in there. But we're going to be using 2.5 inches of lift. So what we did was we pressed out on the top of these. We pressed out the stock bolts, and we put the stock bolts back in it from our stock shocks. We just took it over, put it on a press, pressed these bolts out, and put our new bolts in. So now that's going to allow us to use our shock spacers that were included with the kit and have plenty enough thread. So one bolt on the bottom of the kit, one bolt on the bottom to unhook it, and we can reinstall this with our shock spacers. Okay, now we're going to lower our differential. To just recap what we've got our torsion keys in, but they're not installed. We don't have any torsion against them. We've got our shock extenders. We've got those in place, and we replaced those with some Bilstein 5100s. Now we're going to do our differential. These differential spacers go under the 4
differential mounting points, and you get new hardware that comes with these. Tools to take with you: 21 metric to take out the stock bolts, 22 metric to put the new hardware back in. Now we're going to take you down and show you how we support the differential and pull the bolts out. Okay, your front differential on the 11 and up Chevrolets has 4 mounting points. On the left hand side or driver's side, you have a mounting point here, and then directly behind the cross member right here. Okay, and on the passenger side, there's a mounting point right here, and then you follow this cross arm back, and another mounting point behind the cross arm right here. All 4 of these, what we're going to do first off is we're going to loosen them, and then we're going to put a floor jack underneath of the front differential and put pressure on it and remove a bolt, and we're going to remove 1 bolt at a time and put our spacers in. Now what we did on these differential carrier bolts is the only way I really know how to explain it. The stock 21 metric bolts, they've actually got a nut on top of them, and inside of here it's kind of recessed. So on this back one on the driver's side, we actually came in from the top with a 21 metric socket, and then got the bottom side with a ratchet. That was fine. The front side up here was a little bit different. We actually had to use a 21 metric wrench on the nut, and then ratchet on the bottom, but we finally got it out. Now we've got both bolts out on both this driver's side. We let a little pressure off of it, and that gave us just enough room to get our spacer block in here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our spacer in, our new hardware and factory nut, okay, and tighten everything down. Now this is, you're going to be retaining the 21 metric nut on top, but you'll be going to 22 down here on our hardware bolt. We didn't make any changes, didn't put any other shims in, just simply put the spacer in. Now we're going to tighten everything up. There's no real standard way to get to our differential carrier bolts. We found this 1/2-inch drive ratchet that had a flex head on it. The nuts on the top side of the bolts, they're kind of in a little recessed pocket, so deep well socket and this flex head ratchet really made it nice to get to. If you've got some help, someone that can hold the ratchet for you on top side, and then you get it with a zip gun or something on the bottom side, that'll make it a lot easier. So we've got all 4 of our spacers in now. What we're going to do is we're going to tighten everything up and show you a picture of the differential carrier with the spacers in it. Out of our differential carrier with our spacer bolts in it and our new hardware. Alright, now that we've got everything tightened up front, our differential carrier, our shock extenders installed, we're going to finish up our torsion key part. Now we talked to you about our torsion key installation, about our orientation of the key itself to the bar. We've marked everything. Everything's back where we've got our keys in, but we've got no tension on them. Now what we have to do, before we put our ride height adjustment block back in, what we have to do is we have to put tension on the torsion keys again. So we got to bring our tool back in. And again, like we showed you, set your top of your torsion bar adjuster on the top of the cross member, and then we just put the load tool into the key. Okay. Now we're going to put enough tension on this bar to be able to get our ride height adjustment bolt in here. Now going back with your ride height adjustment bolts, I suggest using a little bit of anti-seize on these. Make it a lot easier on you. Just a little bit. Okay. Now, again, watch yourself. Put your block in, so we need to go just a little bit more. A little bit more. Okay. All right, now we've got our block in and centered. We're just going to take our tension off of it. And then install our ride height bolt. All right, now once we've got it started, take the tool completely out. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're actually going to adjust our ride height bolt back to our stock location where we had it. Now remember, our ride height bolt on this one was about even with our cross member. Bottom of the bolt head was about even with the cross member. Take it a little bit at a time, checking it as you go. Alright, that's about centered of our cross member. Everything looks like it's centered good on the torsion keys. Our ride height bar is in good. Okay. Alright, now we're going to do the other side. And once we have the other side completed, we're going to put our tires on and we're going to check our height. So we've got our torsion keys installed now. We started out with 39.5 inches from floor to the top of the fender well on the driver's side, and we were 40.5 inches on the other side, so we had an inch difference. That probably a lot of it probably had to do with our bad shock on this side. But here's what we came up with now. Now again, you got to take our ride height bolt is adjusted flush with our cross member, so we've still got some adjustment that we can do. But after installation of our kit, we're exactly 43 inches. So we got about 3.5 inches of lift. Now, according to our calibration, we should have had 2.5 inches. Well, with the adjustment that we've got, we're still going to be able to get this back to 2.5 inches. This actually worked out for us perfectly because we're going to be able to release a little bit of tension on our torsion keys, retain some of our ride in the front of the truck, and it should work out perfect. From front to the back of the truck, we've got about a 1/2 inch difference on stock wheels. We're 42.5 on the back from the ground to the fender well. So it's level. It needs a little bit of fine tuning. We're going to go ahead and put our aftermarket wheels on here, wheels and tires, and see how they fit us. Here's our Suspension Maxx kit installed on our 2011 Chevrolet LML. This is a 20x9 Soda BMF wheel, and this is in death metal. Nitto Terra Grappler tires in the 295/55. After installing everything, we're dead level 43 inches all the way across. Haven't drove the truck yet, don't know anything about alignment. We're going to drive it, check and see what our alignment and stuff is, see if we've got any hit points. We already know that all the way to one direction to the right, to the passenger side, that it won't rub. Now the back fender well to the right, or to your left, to the driver's side, is going to rub just a little bit on the back side. So we'll address that and go into that just a little bit more. But for now, we're going to drive it, see how it does, see where our alignment's at, and we'll come back and let you know what we found as far as our installation goes on wheels and tires.